Well, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah.
Actually, on the way here, I was just listening to Bobby's score.
Oh, really? Yeah,
So
yeah.
just having it as the kind of music, but it's so entwined with your imagery.
Yeah, he's amazing.
The performance.
Yeah. He's like the way he just so intuitively just understood the film on this level that I could never have actually expressed in words, and he just kind of locked into something. And the first time he sent me a few of the early demos of the cues, I was just like, oh my god, like I felt like I was like I understand the film on a way deeper level now than I did actually before. So yeah.
In preparation, of this journey for you as a filmmaker and getting to this point with Anemone, which is so beautiful.
Thank you.
And so immersive and just so poetic to watch as well. It really is.
Thank you so much.
At what point did you start thinking about music? Because obviously there's music diegetically in the film at times.
Yeah.
But then that idea of score and how music could work or should work.
Yeah, well, I actually started thinking about music super early on, even in when we started writing the script. So there were actually a lot of songs written into the script that ended up, like I had this really long playlist of like 24-hour playlist of music that I was just listening to kind of obsessively, like as we were writing, and then it kept growing into prep. And then I started using those songs actually to basically communicate the tone and the visual language to the heads of department and my collaborators, which was really helpful tool because I come from a painting background where you don't have to really express why you're making certain decisions. You're just like with the painting yourself. And so I feel like when words failed me, like the music, especially the kind of shoegaze stuff I'd been listening to in prep, ended up being an amazing crutch actually to be able to kind of explain that tonal tightrope to the heads of department. And then by the time Bobby got involved, I knew, like for a long time I thought there would actually be a lot more needle drops in the film, and then eventually, like as we started to work on the score, and Bobby started to send, he would be like, let me just try a cue for this part, even though I know you have a track that you like really are attached to, and I'd be like, all right, you can try, but and then he'd show it to me, and I'd be like, oh my god, like I can't not use this. So slowly the score ended up expanding, and basically like there's actually a lot of score in the finished film, and most of the licensed music, as you said, is kind of diegetic, which I think but I think that the things that I was really responding to in the tracks that I was listening to in prep and using as like a tonal reference, like Bobby really absorbed that sound and those influences into the score, but also made it so much bigger and so much more kind of gave this just emotional through line that I think otherwise wouldn't have been there.
Do you know what informed, it's a weird question, but do you know, or can you register what informed the choices of those songs you put on that playlist? Like, how and why were you choosing things? Was it about a combination of things, character, narrative, feeling? I mean, or what was it?
I'd say a feeling, like it was really intuitive, and it was really like tonal, like I'd be kind of, there's this kind of pagan kind of like mesmeric aspect to the film that I knew I knew there was going to be a lot of silence in the film, and that kind of the sound design and the soundscape and just the sonic aspect and the music would be so important to shape that silence. And so I think it was it was really about just trying to get at a certain feeling, and there'd be certain tracks that would just make me feel a certain way that would almost like help me hypnotize myself into the world of the film. And I think that ended up becoming like so inseparable from like the film's DNA by the end that it was really helpful to have those references to talk to Bobby about.
I think it's amazing when you think about, I mean, I love the worlds you've created within the film, the nature and kind of, and just looking around, there's so much beauty in what you've captured. And particularly I love the kind of contrast of, kind of in and around that cabin, kind of how almost sort of intense that can be, but then the kind of landscape that's within touching distance, it almost kind of really kind of gives you that vista and freedom.
Totally.
As someone watching it, but then also in how you've shot it as well. It's kind of really breathtaking.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to, and that I feel really feeds into the music as well, in terms of where the emotion is, how kind of wrought it is at times, but then also that kind of release that you find at moments as well.
Yeah. No, I think definitely the sound a lot of the music that we were looking at had this this mixture of like the aggression of the kind of menace of like just these walls of distorted guitar and these really like kind of intense sonic kind of landscapes, but then there are these ethereal vocals kind of buried underneath that, and so I think that are kind of trying to break out, and there's sort of a repression to that I think connects to Ray, to the character. But then also I think like you're talking about, there's this mixture of like the kind of abject and like really kind of menacing, darker elements in this enclosed claustrophobic space, but then also the sublime and like and the kind of the presence of nature. And so that was, I think the music had to kind of carry those two things, which is no small like feat. It's a lot to be able to try to kind of combine into one score. So yeah, Bobby's work on it was really special. Yeah.
What inspired the idea for the script? Was there a combination of things, in terms of, wonderful that you got this opportunity to work with your dad on a number of levels, you know what I mean, behind the camera with writing the script together, but also kind of, directing him and working collaboratively on that. But what was the initial kind of, where did that idea come from of what the story and who these characters would be? Yeah,
so it was the original just vague seed of it was just doing something about brothers, because I have two brothers, and for years before we even started working on this, I'd kind of had this vague idea of wanting to find a way into that, like a story that kind of dealt with that archetype and that kind of the tragedy of brotherhood and like the kind of beauty of it, and just expresses it in some way. And so when it turned out my dad had that same kind of interest, it just set us off on this journey. And all we knew at first was just that there are these two people and this one person who's just in this completely isolated environment, who's kind of living in self-banishment in this he's almost gone through like a spiritual suicide or a spiritual death, and then his brother shows up after a long time of no contact, and we didn't really know anything else than that at first, and so it was really a process of just slowly finding or letting their kind of shared history reveal itself to us in these kind of mysterious ways over time, and just I think working on it really sporadically over a long period of time was good, because we didn't put all this pressure on ourselves at first of having like a detailed outline that we were just kind of going through the beats of. We really didn't know where the characters or the setting or the kind of the feeling that the first 10 pages had were like bringing us. So it was kind of a scary but like exciting. It felt like our feet were really touching the ground for a lot of the writing process. But yeah, that was kind of where it started.
I mean, all the performances are kind of really extraordinary, and there's almost a real sort of, particularly with the brothers, kind of thriller element to it as well. You kind of don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
It could go either way. The kind of tension is kind of so there. It's incredible that nothing's revealed. It's kind of you're living it as it's happening. It's kind of it's kind of so great, and just your choices as well. I wanted to talk about obviously your artistic eye and experience kind of really bleeds into kind of how you've shot and how you've chosen. I was interested about your journey, about how the film would look, and how that feeds into how we feel.
Yeah, I think that was coming from a painting background, I was definitely already really alive to just the emotional power of images and of color. So that was something I was kind of thinking about already in such a intuitive way, and I think with painting, it's like it's easier in a way because you don't have to rationalize those choices. You're just kind of drawn towards a certain feeling or a certain tone or composition or palette. But then when I was working with, for instance, like Ben Fordsman, the cinematographer, on the visual language, we were definitely, like, I brought a lot, even some of it unconsciously, some of it consciously. I brought a lot of that experience of just like the visual language of my paintings to that, but then also trying to find a way to marry the more fantastical elements of the film with this more grounded reality, because it's obviously also has to honor its it has this real framework of historical reality that it has to honor as well. So yeah, trying to find that visual language. We looked at a lot of different kind of disparate things. Like there was this book, the Book of Miracles, that was this 16th century illuminated manuscript of all these paintings of like massive hailstorms and blood rain and like a mixture of like Old Testament images and then like folklore kind of accounts that people supposedly really saw of like springs of blood sprout like coming up in fields and stuff, and that combined with this book of photographs by Nick Waplington of Sheffield in the mid-90s was like a really like that became the more grounded kind of part of the film's look. So yeah, it was really about like how do we kind of reconcile these two seemingly kind of impossible to combine, you know, aspects of the film's DNA, and the music, like I was talking about, was actually a big part of that, and to just in terms of finding the tone, which also informed the visual language. Also, we looked at the photos of Francesca Woodman, which was really helpful. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I mean, I love where you said it. You know, it's a sort of nondescript place, but obviously the accents kind of give us a sort of a rough idea of kind of where they're from and where they live, and I love that. You know, in terms of a kind of regional England, it's brilliant. Right, you know, it's kind of refreshing. Yeah. In a way, do you know what I mean? And unexpected.
Yeah. I think that was actually like a big challenge, is how to give that specificity of the region and the sense of time and place, like, while also having that mythic aspect and seeing like how that can, because Ray's environment feels like it could also be almost anywhere, like it has this kind of fairy tale quality, but I think in order for the film to support that, I think the details had to be really specific and really kind of real. So even though you're not being explicitly told where they are or what the period is or what's going on for like a long time in the film, that like that's always being kind of communicated in these visual ways, or in terms of the accents and you're talking about those textures,
the scene of them dancing. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that in terms of kind of, you know, what was on the script for that, and then on the reality of kind of what you shot, how you shot it, kind of, you know, was there music playing, all that kind of stuff. In
the script, it was just written really briefly, and that there was this sense of like weightlessness, and I think the jarringness of that after the previous scene was already kind of implied in the script, but it was really brief. And then figuring out how to actually shoot it, we talked about so many different options and like how to kind of communicate that like Bacchanalian kind of frenzy, and we ended up landing on the idea of starting with this really frenetic kind of handheld where Ben Fordsman, the DP, was just in there with them, and they were listening to Black Sabbath like pumped really loud, and like just like I just told them to really go for it, and they really did. It was amazing to watch.
I bet they felt amazing after it as well.
Yeah. It was, although my dad actually hurt his leg doing it, which I felt really bad about.
Got into it too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then also, like, I think that was a key moment in terms of bridging the visual language to then also have this myth pull out and have this mythic sense of like seeing the nature around them and the forest. And so that shot of like pulling out from the hut was something that I had in mind for a long time, and we had to figure out how to do that, because the actual location hut we were using had these stone walls that you couldn't remove a wall from. So we also ended up having, not just because of this, but it helped for this. So we had this other version of the hut that we built on a soundstage that we could remove a wall from to get that shot where you kind of pull out and just get the sense of a more kind of cosmic backdrop to the human drama.
I love that. It's like a kind of little two-man rave where they're just kind of having the time of their lives.
Exactly.
And also that kind of, you know, of them kind of coming together. Do you know what I mean? That kind of shared experience.
Absolutely.
That they haven't had for so long.
No, it's like a rediscovery of something. It's
so great. Let's talk about a couple of the other needle drops as well. You know, Black Sabbath, you mentioned there as well. Jesus and Mary Chain. And Neil Young in there as well, and a bit of Beethoven. And
just all the classics. classic
nice mix,
combinations. Yeah.
But that's the wonderful thing about music now, isn't it? In terms of we're kind of genreless with music.
No, it's true.
Isn't that beautiful that we can like anything?
It's true, and I feel like there's a lot that's said about how terrible like the streaming age is with music, and it's true that it's sort of sad that people don't listen to records as much, but it's also kind of amazing that we just have like every era of music just at our fingertips all the time that can be like mashed together into these playlists that are that I think have just really changed the way we think about music and allow for these like connections to be made between genres that otherwise wouldn't be made. So I think that I think I'm realizing more and more that ended up informing just the way I ended up using music in the film, and it was just it was such a tonal. It was so important tonally to kind of like that Black Sabbath song that Ray's playing when Jem first arrives at the hut is sort of like it needed to kind of hypnotize us into this world. It's like it's like sedating us into Ray's kind of reality, and I think that like we tried a lot of different tracks there, and there were some that were more kind of just had such different tones that were great and were kind of funny or more like had like more of a comical feeling. But there was something about that Black Sabbath song that just felt so kind of spiritual with just the quality of his voice and like the flute and stuff that just felt really like it kind of there were some of those songs that just really encapsulated the film's soul, and then the Jesus and Mary chain. I thought it was just nice and kind of jarring to see Ray kind of you're seeing him in this completely different environment of like this pub, and when you're used to seeing him in this kind of pastoral like nowhere place, and there's like Jesus and Mary chain playing in the background. Neil Young is like that's one of my favorite songs and albums ever, but that song has just meant so much to me over the years. Amazing. And I really wanted to use it because it just felt like it was so it just felt like it was so emblematic of the film's spirit and tone that like also some of the lyrics are actually almost to like a point where it's on the nose actually felt really like indicative of, it felt like Ray, like just like the thing of just the isolation and the kind of refuge in the natural world and just the kind of the melancholy of it felt really really important.
We mentioned kind of, people not listen to records as much as well. One of the things I love is buying soundtracks on vinyl. And I really hope we're getting a vinyl.
Oh, there will be.
That's what I'm very much looking forward to.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Because the range of what Bobby's created for the score is the prayer cue, for example, with that kind of slightly off timing kind of picking that's going on is so effective.
Incredible,
to Vision of Nessa, which is just this kind of this just great song.
I know. It's a song.
Great song.
I know. When he that was the first cue I listened to that he sent me, and I was just like, holy shit,
I'd go to this concert.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I was like, this is the kind of music I listen to and would, it's amazing.
And then why did he leave us? I just had a kind of slightly out of body experience. You know, when a piece of music just takes you off.
Yeah, and that piece is so, it kind of creeps in underneath that scene with Brian and Nessa, and then it just, like you said, just lifts into this incredibly intense moment on Ray, when you're kind of zeroing in on him. But I think, what's amazing about Bobby's music is that it has such like raw emotional power, but it's never sentimental. Like it always has this like, this kind of, it's got this like coarseness too, and this kind of aggression, but also this like, this delicateness. It has all these contradictions in it that are so hard to pull off.
Ronan, I've loved chatting to you, and I'm really excited about this journey that you're on as well, and the next kind of world you take us into with the characters. It's great to chat to you.
Thank you so much. This has been great.